to that, I'll open it up to any questions that anybody has. We are taking bookings now for the week starting the 18th.
How much per hour for HV?
Generally, the hourly charge, we run a 3-person crew. And then on top of that, we need ground observers in particular areas, especially if we're flying out long paths. So we start at $500 an hour, but there are volume contract rate, agency rates for organizations that are doing, agency work with us and volumes of it.
Go ahead.
What's the estimated timeline for a regular shoot, like an average shoot then? How long would it take to
it all depends on the nature of what is being shot, but generally flights last about 20 minutes. We can run flights depending on the payload on the system itself. With heavier payloads, they can be shorter shoots, but we can run shoots up to 30 minutes if it's a really light payload and we're running just still photography. But if we're doing videography and things like that, or we're doing very high resolution stills out to 18.1 megapixels, then we need to run a heavier camera, a digital SLR with a magnesium case, which reduces the flight time. So, but we run 4 batteries packs continuously. So for example, with the wakeboard championships, we were running all day long with very little downtime at all.
Yeah. If somebody goes with you guys, how much are they saying?
So the question for those of you that didn't hear it was, in relationship to a full-size helicopter, how do the prices compare? Keep in mind that our solution is billing out at $500 per hour with all of the crew, right? So when you combine the requirements of the videographers or photographers with a full-size helicopter solution, if you know someone and you're running, like in the helicopter industry, you can see rates of about $6,000, including your photographer and things like that, for running an hour shoot. But we've seen prices go up as high as well over $10,000. And again, that's only covering about an hour's worth of shoot. So it's considerable savings for the business industry, and now it makes it very affordable for the average business or for organizations like Venture Kamloops and Tourism Kamloops and Economic Development Wings to be able to have this kind of solution at their disposal to create a dramatic impact in seeing places like Kamloops from perspectives that nobody's ever seen before, like we saw today. Mastermind Studios has actually been running for about 1.5 years, but we've been providing the aerial services now for about a week and a half. So this is a very new service. We've been under training to provide the solution for several weeks, but it's a new service. The cost of the machine. Now, my crew warned me someone was going to ask that. The first caveat is it's not just the cost of the machine, it's the cost of the multiple machines, as this weekend we'll have a test that you require to be able to provide the service. I will say that it's probably far more than your car, but a little bit less than your house.
So, get to raw footage. How long for, let's say, a static shot would it take you guys to make a video of that sort of?
Static shots for the static still photography is immediate. We can provide them on SD cards right after the shoot.
You get the raw footage yourself then?
You can get the raw footage if you require the raw footage, or we can do the full video edit and produce a full video production if you require. So it's available in both formats.
I guess research and development focusing on waterproof next.
Research and development focusing on waterproofing. We're not able to waterproof the technology, but we will definitely be adding some buoyancy to the system for the next time that we're flying over water. We've learned a lot in this process. All of the safety procedures were in place, but as far as the system recovery procedures and additional things that we could do, we came up with some great ideas this weekend. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. And those will all be implemented when we take flight again on the 18th. Great question. We are able to fly the unit in winds of up to 35 miles an hour, and we are able to fly in light rains. So that's one of the reasons why we got this technology. There are other solutions out there, from VTOL RC helicopters and all sorts of different solutions, but they cannot fly in adverse weather conditions. Obviously, if it's a hurricane like what they're experiencing out on the East Coast, we wouldn't quite take that risk. But in light rains and in winds up to 35 miles an hour, we're able to fly. We can fly in heat conditions of up to 110, and we can fly in cold conditions of down to -10. So it does pose some tremendous opportunities, especially for our phenomenal ski hills especially Sun Peaks and Harper, and even going further out to Big White and other areas down into Kelowna, as far as being able to get some phenomenal footage there and create a similar kind of scenario to what you saw on the screen here, but winter scene conditions. There is a capability there when we're flying inside a stadium or anything with a roof. We have to fly manually, so we're not able to use GPS coordinates. So it removes one aspect of the safety. So then we would have 2 backup pilots instead of 1. We don't want to fly in a lot of closed, very small indoor facilities, but anything with an open roof, we're able to fly with GPS coordinates. So say for example, in something like the Sky Dome in Toronto, if the roof was open, no problem there at all. If the roof's closed, it creates GPS bounce, and so then it's manual. Then there's a lot more riding on the line with regards to, you know, safety of people, and we have to be a lot more careful. So we're looking primarily more for outdoor events and outdoor types of things. And then we have other solutions with regards to the studio in services that we can provide indoors. The system itself, from a safety perspective, we like to be able to maintain a connection to at least 9 satellites. And I know that there were a couple of people here that were down at the wakeboard competitions over the course of the weekend and saw it flying. And it truly is amazing to see it actually hit fixed position and be able to control that camera with no drift whatsoever. Like it is truly amazing, and it's because of the connections we have to all of the satellites to get a specific fixed point, and we really love that safety aspect to it. It also allows us to fly specific flight plans with GPS waypoints and GPS coordinates, as well as altitude. So we can say, for example, I was talking to someone this morning about being able to go up and down the stack at Weyerhaeuser and film it at closer than what the rotors of a large helicopter would be to the stack, to be able to record perfectly every aspect of that stack from an inspection standpoint. So that's one example from an industrial application to the system itself. Any other questions?
Yeah, what's the range of it?
The range on the unit itself is, we can go out to 5 miles, so much further than we could ever see it. That being said, we've flown it to altitudes right now of 200 meters. We can go to, or 400 meters. We can go to 2,400, although we're really pushing it, because by the time we get to 2,400 meters, we're way beyond the halfway point on the battery, and it may not be coming back.
And how about insurance? So you guys take care of all the
as far as insurance on other people's property,
yeah.
Absolutely, our insurance covers that. As far as insurance on our own systems, the one that went down in the river is insured. I don't know what our rates are going to be like as far as covering our own property after this, but we did have that unit insured. And as far as covering other people's properties, again, we've got all of our procedures in place to make sure that people first and property second are completely protected. So we always have a ditch plan in case something like what happened Saturday happens, and that it's completely well planned out, rehearsed, completely communicated, and practiced to the extent that we can without losing the system prior to ever going into an event like that. So that is one thing that we've done from a business perspective, that after the fact our insurance company was very pleased that we had done. So that's a great question. We're actually monitoring the battery life live with a person all the time. We're monitoring the health of each individual rotor, and there's 6 rotors on the unit. The system, that's what our primary pilot is engaged on. He is looking at the screen, monitoring all of the flight controls and all of the flight data that's coming back to him all the time. He's basically the person that's monitoring all of the data. He is not looking at the unit at all. He's flying by flight path according to GPS maps and GPS positioning, right, but his head doesn't come up from the screen. Having said that, there are fail-safes in place so that if battery does go low and it was not being monitored, then it flies back at a certain point to a rally position, and then if it hits a critical point, then it automatically lands using GPS control. So those systems are in place not only for loss of or low battery, but those backup systems and emergency procedures are in place also for loss of communication with satellites, or for any kind of rattle or unhealthy condition with regards to the motors or the rotors. If the accelerometers notice that it's slightly out of skew or out of angle compared to what it's being told to do, any of those types of things, emergency messaging comes back via the comm with a backup system on the comm to our ground control unit. And then in addition to that, there are those fail-safes for automatic landing, automatic rallying back to the rally point, and all the automatic landing back to the landing pad as well. So.